This afternoon, I'm joined by Suresh Wathana from Harmony Capital, the advisors to Adamas Finance Asia. Suresh, good to see you.
Great to see you too, Andrew. Thank you for having me on.
And we said recently we'd catch up on the back of your 2019 results. They've since been released. So just tell us a bit more about the year. Give us an overview.
Yes, our annual results are out. We're very excited. We had a good set of results coming out for 2019 that basically showed that our portfolio income has increased by almost 500%, almost fivefold. And our net asset value for our investment portfolio has increased about 8%. We obviously spent quite a bit of time talking about post 2019, the impact of COVID-19, and how that sort of filtered through our portfolio. But the good news is, as we've said before, Asia is recovering from this crisis, and so the outlook for the business in 2020 is actually quite positive. At least the board felt confident in saying so. So all in all, a really good set of results for us.
We've talked previously about future Mittal holdings. They're now in production as of December, are they?
Exactly. We actually made the announcement between Christmas and the New Year, but we went into production in December. We disclosed that the plant was shut down during basically February and March because of obviously the countrywide shutdown in China as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And then more recently, sort of early April timeframe, production recommenced because the Chinese economy is back, back and spooling up, and industrial activity is spooling up. So similarly, our business is back on its feet again, and so that's really positive for us going forward.
And as far as going forward, are you going to be focusing more on these income-generating assets, are you?
That's always been the plan, and now that the numbers are actually starting to show through, all the hard work of repositioning our portfolio by investing in the same companies, SMEs in Asia, but actually doing so through investments that generate income. So usually bonds or loans or convertible bonds, things like that. I mean, the board has directed us essentially to say that's the only kind of investments we can present to them as opportunities. So my expectation is that the income component of the portfolio is going to continue to grow. And the objective has always been to get to a point where Adamas Finance Asia becomes a sustainable dividend paying vehicle. And we're getting closer to that now with these results.
And interestingly, in the announcement themselves, the reference here to the ski resort investment that you've got in Japan, apparently unaffected by some of the lockdowns and shutdowns. That was an interesting surprise.
Yeah, it was largely unaffected because it's very prone. It's very centered around winter tourism because it's in Niseko. Niseko is a ski resort. These are high-end investments in the ski resort area. So really, when the lockdowns took effect in Japan, they were kind of just at the end of the winter season, which was after a lot of tourists had already come and gone, really. Today, Japan is obviously in a state of emergency, but we also expect that to lift at some point.
And as far as future investments, the main markets that you're interested in, these are sort of leading the way, if you like, as far as opening up and seeing an economic recovery.
We're definitely seeing a recovery. We're certainly seeing a lot of recovery in countries and areas like Hong Kong, for example, where we have an office on the ground. I think, as I may have mentioned to you before, our team's back in the office now for the third week in a row. There's certainly been, a plateauing of the curve, as they call it, in a number of countries in Asia. So as a result and as a reaction to that, a number of governments are starting to open up their economies. They're letting their citizens out of their homes. They're letting their citizens start to spend money and not yet travel, but that's the next stage of sort of cross-border travel. So Asia is well ahead of where we are here, for example, in London. But we all have something to look forward to because, Asia is leading out of it, as I keep saying. So it's something we at Harmony Capital and Adamas Finance Asia are very excited about, given what we're seeing on the ground.
And the last time we spoke was around the bond program. That's going well, is it?
It has, yes, indeed. And, we had some additional subscribers out of the Middle East who came in, as we discussed very recently, just sort of at the beginning of May. And, I guess our results hopefully puts those investors further at ease now that they know that, the company is certainly an income producing vehicle, its assets are well positioned, etc. So, no nasty surprises in our accounts, which is always a good thing to be able to report to the market and people like you.
And with an increasing number of companies now, I suppose, unfortunately, really desperate for cash and investment, you'd be you'd have a decent number of opportunities that you're mulling over at the moment, do you?
Indeed, I mean, we're busier than we have ever been in terms of companies coming to us now. Screen those companies, and obviously we say no to most things and yes to a very select few. We're trying to avoid companies that are desperate or about to, fly into a mountain. But we are certainly looking for those companies that are good companies that have long-term prospects, but just are experiencing difficulties in raising money. Opportunities will get actually bigger. The opportunities will become more numerous. I've seen quite a few cycles before, and I expect that to be the case this time around as well. So we're very excited about the opportunities that will come out in the next 12 to 18 months.
Excited about the opportunities, and are you optimistic on the year ahead as far as Adamas Finance?
Absolutely. I mean, we're the only listed company in London that actually focuses on the Asian SME space. So in a sense, we're positioned very well because we're focused on Asia, and Asia is recovering. Despite all the doom and gloom we read about every morning with our cornflakes in London, there's actually a bright spot in the world, and that's what's happening in Asia. So we're certainly looking forward to the recovery continuing in Asia. I'm sure there'll be bumps in the road, but as I said, even in our results, our board of directors was comfortable, saying that they were looking, 2020 was looking positive, and we're very excited about that.
Why do you reckon you are one of the few in this space here in London, if the opportunity is that significant?
I think perhaps historically, companies have been focused more on countries specifically. So whether it's China or Vietnam or India, there's been a lot of country-specific funds. There's been very few that were Asian focused. And as you may recall, when we were appointed Harmony Capital in May 2017, we actually changed the investment policy of this company with shareholder consent to become a pan-Asian SME space, because I, like you, asked myself that question: why aren't there any companies listed in London who are focused on this SME space when there's such a massive opportunity? And so we were one of the first to identify that and change our investment policy to match that opportunity. So far, we seem to be the only one, but that's hopefully a good thing for our investors and shareholders.
And paying a dividend at some point, that's still firmly an objective of yours, is it?
Yes, that is absolutely a very firm objective, one that my board constantly reminds me of, and one that's discussed at every board meeting. And we have, made plans to do so when the company can afford to do so. And the main component, the main driver of that is increasing the income from our portfolio. And again, as I said, the fivefold increase in income in 2019 is certainly a step in the right direction.
Well, as far as when we're going to be speaking next, Suresh, are you nearing some news on your next investment?
We're looking at a number of investments at the moment, but equally we're being very, very cautious, very, very disciplined. As I tell my team all the time, everyone wants to be your friend when you've got the checkbook. But at the same time, it requires discipline and rigor. So we're need to deploy capital because, as I said, the opportunities are going to get better. Having said that, in terms of, probably the next announcement we're going to make, I've already telegraphed the fact that we will give an operational update at Future Mittal Holdings, probably in a few weeks' time. So maybe we can discuss that when that's out eventually.
Certainly. Suresh, good to see you. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you for your time, Andrew.